put that in your new spot and put some fish up and whatever. So
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Because it's funny walking into a place where, it's barbecue and you're not selling fish.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
not at all.
but there's, it's Harrington and there's
Yeah.
fish up there.
Yeah.
I always wondered, the connection,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, cool. We are back with the Inside the Block podcast, and I'm here with Jeff Newman, owner of Blue Door. I'm so excited about this episode because, Blue Door Smokehouse has kind of a cult following here in the warehouse block, and for good reason. So it's exciting to get to sit down and talk to you and find out, the story behind
Sure,
Blue Door.
yeah.
So when did you start Blue Door?
Started Blue Door in 2014. And I originally had a partner, but I'm solo now. And so we had partnership at our original location, which was just up the street. And in between that transition, we parted ways. And so I was able to open this new spot alone and just really love it down here in the warehouse block.
Yeah. I remember vividly when you were in the old location because you went through COVID during that time.
Yes.
And you had to completely change
Yes.
everything. Because the space, your old space it's a house. It has to be a former house, right?
Maybe at one point in time, but
Like a shack
over the
on Walton.
Yeah, over the years, people would come in, they would say, I remember when this was an antique store. I remember when this was a shoe store. I remember when this was this.
But they always said it was like a business of some sort?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it, it may have been a residence originally, but just there were so many different businesses on that corner over time, and we were happy to be in there. And the one that always stands out to me was Aurora Pools and Spas, a local pool business. Because that's Aurora Avenue,
Yeah.
That intersects with Walton there. So, just a lot of business history there.
Definitely. So when COVID hit, what were the major challenges? How'd you have to change your business model? You even revolutionized the space itself. I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, we changed it. We called it the carryout command center.
Yes.
And because, mandated that
Yeah.
we couldn't have any customers inside the building. And it was a little easier for us than a lot of businesses. Something like our neighbor on National, Eppings, they don't do probably a ton of carryout, whereas we already did a lot of carryout. So it was a little easier for us to transition to carryout only. It was basically how we were set up anyways. And so we just had to make a few modifications. Of course, we did have a decline in business everybody did. And one of the main reasons is because people weren't allowed to get together. So your graduation parties, your weddings, your birthdays, your tailgates and things like that, that's what we really missed out on. But as far as just people coming in and buying food, that really didn't slow down too much. And I think that was because we had such a good system. We never had, and we never have since then, implemented, stuff like Uber Eats and DoorDash, but we did during that time, and started online ordering, which we've kept up with that as well. But it just was really easy, and we just got a couple of new tablets so we could do car side, and just had a really good system. It wasn't perfect all the time, but it worked well for us and got us through the COVID times.
Yeah, I felt like it was, dare I say, booming, because there were times that I would go, and even during COVID or as we were sort of easing out of that, and it was wildly crowded. It was people were craving barbecue in COVID.
Well, one thing that happened during that period, and my family was in the same boat, is we were we have to support these local businesses.
Definitely.
And I will say, I don't know the specifics of all these other businesses, but, we had a loss of business during that time, but it wasn't as severe as what you would read on the news. The average business was losing 40 or 50% or whatever the numbers were. We weren't quite at that level because we had a good system in place. And our food is also really good for carryout. Mm-hmm. It's we don't do anything fried, so you don't have to worry about stuff getting soggy and things like that. And it just kind of holds well and it reheats well. And we were very convenient on that corner. So you pull in, you call us and say, I'm here to pick my order up, and we run it out to you, pay car side, and you're on your way. So in everything that we've done has always been very intentional. and we make it intentionally easy on ourselves and our customers. That's one thing that I've always had in my head is like, sometimes you have a dining experience that's like a little clunky, or your to-go experience is a little clunky, and we want ours to be nice and smooth.
Yeah, absolutely. On yourselves too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
And
makes total sense.
It's almost more for us than it is like for the customer. If it's easier on us, it's going to be easier on the customer, and then that gives us the opportunity to grow and do more. And when in that particular instance, it's like we could have, if we didn't make these changes that we did, we would probably have lost even more business. But we set it up in such a way where it was nice and smooth, and people were able to get in and out, and then they started to know that. So we started seeing the same people, like, we have a lot of repeat customers.
Yeah,
we had
you
a lot
of
weekly
regulars.
guys.
Yeah,
They were like 2 and 3 times a week at that point in time because our prices, we've always tried to keep them low. So we're even competitive with like some of the fast food prices, and for that reason, it's like you knew you could come in and it'd be quicker than going to Subway or McDonald's or something like that and fighting the drive-through line. So you have to adapt in the restaurant industry. Yeah.
And it's much appreciated too, because I don't want to like overgeneralize barbecue, but I often feel like sometimes it can get really expensive.
Yes.
Like there's some places in and around town, or even just like when you travel, where it's like, dang, like I'm paying an extraordinary amount for like a plate, you know? And so like I've always really appreciated that you guys have kept it competitive.
Yeah. One of the things, and I've actually been criticized for this over the years, but I don't really care about that criticism because I work there every day. I mean, I take my days off, I have my vacation time, that kind of stuff, but I like to be there as an active owner. And, like I talked about, intentionally setting things up a certain way, I've got us set up in a way that it's very, very smooth. Our work day, our work week, it's very efficient. And because of that, I've got fewer number of employees than most places that do the kind of business we do, far fewer employees. And we're just able to, like I said, be efficient, and that helps keep the costs down. We work well with our suppliers on getting our costs down, and we just try to pass that on. I know I could probably squeeze a few extra dollars here and there out of everything that I do, but that's not as important to me as like the longevity of our business and saying, I can make X dollars now, or I can make X plus 10, later. It doesn't work like that for me. I'm here for the long run, and I don't want to squeeze everything out and people feel like we're, nickel and diming all of our customers. And we keep our prices where they need to be for us. But the cost of, raw materials is getting more expensive.
Sure.
So we went a very long time without raising our prices. And a lot of my friends that own and manage restaurants would come in and say, I don't know how in the world you've got it this cheap. And I would say, I'm still profitable. I'm happy with what we're doing. But it did come a point in time where we had to start, looking at raising some prices. And we've had multiple raises over the years. We've been in business a little over 11 years.
Yeah.
So of course we've had to raise some prices, but we've always tried to keep them as competitive as possible, because we love seeing those same people over and over again, being a part of people's, celebrations and parties and different events. And we've got people that say, yeah, you did our daughter's wedding in, 2019. We did our second daughter's wedding this year. You're doing their college graduations and things like that. So we just
so special.
Yeah. So we know we've got them for a long period of time. Yeah, as a regular customer.
Yeah. So what got you into barbecue to begin with?
It was really just a hobby.
You'd smoke your own stuff at home? And...
Yeah, well, mostly for other restaurants. I've always been in the restaurant industry.
Here in Lexington?
Mostly here in Lexington. I went to culinary school in New York and came back to Lexington, worked a while in Atlanta, and just kind of always incorporating smoking. And originally it would be, simple stuff like a little smoked onions for topping for a steak, or smoked tomato for a little pasta sauce or something like that. And then it started to get to be, bigger cuts of meat and things like that. And when we went to our old location, we actually had plans on a different concept. it was a barbecue restaurant before we bought it. And so we were just going to take all that equipment and sell it and then do this new concept. But there was some constraints with like ceiling height to put in like exhaust hoods and just space really.
What was the concept going to be?
It was going to be like cool sandwiches.
Okay.
So we were going to bake our own bread and do,
Like a deli almost?
No, not really a deli. To be honest, it was kind of copying a place in Charleston called Butcher and Bee. Really cool spot. They've changed their concept up a little bit, but it was originally sandwiches. Like like General Tso's chicken sandwich, or
cool.
just kind of some cool,
off the beaten path,
interesting type stuff. Yeah. And it just wasn't going to work. So we really said, we have all this equipment for barbecue. We know how to do it. Now we just have to figure out how to scale it up to a restaurant, quantities. And that's the thing about having like the culinary background. Like, I know how to cook.
Yeah.
Just in general.
You can pivot.
Yeah, we can pivot. We can solve problems, and that I'll come back to solving problems like a ton of times, because that's just part of the industry, is like being quick to solve problems, quick on your feet, quick to pivot. And so we said we can definitely do this. It's not a problem at all. We know how to cook meat. We know how to tell when something's right, something's wrong when it comes to cooking. So we just went for it in that respect, and it turned out good for us.
Yeah, for sure. So when you'd first started in 2014, and that was way pre-COVID, were there any challenges in that spot, you doing barbecue there, or was it like immediately pretty successful?
It was immediately pretty successful. There were a lot of challenges that the customer probably didn't see. It was a very, very small facility just in general. So I tell this story a lot. If you remember the old spot, there was a refrigerator that was kind of covered in stickers, and we didn't have that when we first opened, and we started getting pretty busy pretty quickly. And I'm looking at like what we had just ordered from our supplier, and I'm like, we don't have space for all this meat that we just, like, it was our biggest order yet. And so I went to a restaurant supply store in town and just went down. We didn't have much money. We had just opened, and I'm just going like, I can afford that. And I'm like, I need this, but I need it delivered today. And they're like, oh, we don't do deliveries until, and I was like, all right, see ya. I'm going to go to the other spot. And so they stopped me and they said, well, hold on, what's going on? And I told them, and I said, look, I have all this meat coming in. I don't even have anywhere to put it.
Yeah.
So, and that was just within like our 4th or 5th week of being in business there. And so there was just constantly like, we need more shelving for dry storage. We need more refrigeration. We need a freezer. We need these kinds of things. And it was very difficult for us on the, behind the scenes. The customer probably didn't see that as much, because you just never want people to realize.
Yeah, you're like
what's
the analogy
going
of a
on.
duck. They're like going crazy under the water,
exactly.
and you're just looking.
Well, when I worked for Ritz-Carlton, one of the mottos that they had, and sometimes it would even say it like above the door. You'd be behind the scenes and you'd be going into a public-facing area, and the door above that would say, "Smile, you're on camera," and it was kind of like this, this idea like. You got to leave whatever you've got, in the back of the house. And when you're in the front of the house, people don't want to see your frustration or your issues or your
that's
troubles.
That's got to be so hard
you just
sometimes,
want to make,
though.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that their experience is top notch. And that's what hospitality industry is all about, is that customer experience.
Yeah. Golly. I mean, especially... I used to work in restaurants too, and that was really tough, because you're working together as a team and you're constantly like performative in front of other people. And so that's always been a rough moment. But you seem to have a really good team, though.
Oh, I have the best team
you do.
of every restaurant in the entire city, and I say that, I tell people that all the time.
Yeah.
So, shout out to all my guys down there that are working while I'm up here doing the podcast.
I know, yes.
And I do want to correct myself. I just said, smile, you're on camera.
Yeah.
It's smile, you're on stage. So anybody that worked for Ritz-Carlton that's listening to this, I'm sorry I messed it up the first time. But yes, I have the best team. I have the best crew of people. And I think what it is I hire almost more on like personality and how I get along with people in an interview than I do actual skill. I mean, my newest guy, most restaurants would never have hired this guy for the position that he's in. I mean, he does a lot of prep work and washes dishes and stuff, but like just letting him come on into that prep position and stuff, a lot of places wouldn't have hired him for that, but immediately got along with him well and just kind of could tell that he was going to be, you know, fun to be around, work hard, listen to direction, and he's worked out great, you know. Yeah. And he wears funny hats at work too, so it's always entertaining. Yeah.
So you must have a real knack for being a good judge of character.
You know, I mean, maybe, I guess, I don't know. You know, in the restaurant industry, and I'm sure a lot of other industries, you wish that you had 50 amazing people to choose from, and that's just not always the case, especially in a town like Lexington. I want good quality people that, you know, are willing to work the hours, and we work full-time hours. They usually get a few hours of overtime, and I've got it set up to where, you know, everybody gets like an extra day off every fourth week and things like, you know, little things like that, good little incentives. But I just want people that are like there to be part of the team as well. And that's probably the most important, because it is a team. We're next to each other, elbow to elbow all day long. Sometimes
in the trenches.
We're in the trenches.
Yeah.
It can be, you know, it can be kind of a maddening experience. There can be, you know, a lot of stuff going on at one time, and sometimes someone is in the weeds, like we say in the industry, and you got to help them get out of the weeds, and then you're going to be in the weeds at some point in time. They're going to help you get out. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what I like the most about my crew, is that we're all very friendly with each other. A lot of them knew each other outside of work already, and that's how we got, you know, some of the people was like, hey, I know this guy. And then, you know, a year later, you need to replace somebody, and hey, I know a guy. And so it just kind of brought on some people that were already friends, which can be, you know, can be an issue sometimes when people already have relationships.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been that way.
Because they're like cliquey together, or what?
Well, they can be cliquey, or they can take, you know, if someone gets mad at someone outside of work because they're, you know, hanging out or doing whatever.
And then they bring it into work.
And then they bring it into work.
Yeah.
But I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. My guys are all professional, and, you know, we all like to have fun while we're at work, and we just like that environment. And so it's like sometimes you're in a bad mood. You know, you could have had something majorly horrible happen in your life, and you can still come in, and there are days you can kind of keep to yourself and be quiet, and everybody kind of leaves you alone. And then there are days where we're talking and joking and, you know, cutting up so much that it's like, oh, wait, hey guys, we got to like get moving, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it's a good environment, and like I said, best crew in town for sure.
I think that comes across really clearly, like as a customer, as a repeat customer myself, like every time I go in, like it just, I don't know, sometimes there's vibes of certain establishments where you can tell they either don't know each other, or maybe they don't like each other or whatever, but there it's like very clear that you're a full-blown team, you know, in every good sense of that word. And a lot of, I mean, you're always there, which I always think is like really cool, because like oftentimes people that are ahead of a business, or, you know, like the CEO of sorts, like they're not as hands-on. I mean, you are, and I always, like when I walk in, you're there doing whatever it is, like right behind the window that customers can, like I'm doing
cutting brisket.
You're cutting
That's
brisket.
what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, we need more of a look at that. I wish like we could see you like actually.
Well, you know, our old spot, we had the little doorway into the kitchen area, and you could kind of peek out and see like a third of the dining room. And so this new spot, I was like, I want a big window. I want to see everything.
Yeah.
And I always felt like, you know, our friends could come in and be like, hey, what's up, dude? And you could wave at them and stuff. And I wanted to keep that connection between like the back of the house and the front of the house. We do things a little bit differently than most restaurants. I mean, our setup's a little bit different. So there's a lot of communication between employees in the front of the house and the back of the house. And I just like to see people come in and, you know, wave at my friends and my family and whoever. And I like to see people's reactions when they eat. And I like for them to be able to look back in the kitchen and say, oh, this was great. Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
And, just kind of have that connection.
Totally. Not to compare you to Waffle House, but growing up as a kid, I loved the connection between you're in the kitchen and you get to see how everybody the workers react to you. I mean, it feels like a communal aspect. And I think you've done a really nice job of that too.
Well, I love Waffle House.
I love Waffle House
it's
too.
One of my favorite places.
I love Waffle House.
Mark and Nathan, if you're listening, everyone loves Waffle House except you two. Those are a couple of my friends. But anyways, I love that aspect of it too. And I don't, maybe, subconsciously, that maybe
a little bit of that in there.
Me
Yeah,
a little bit,
for sure.
We love Waffle House. I mean, I've got pictures of my kids from babies wearing the little Waffle House hats.
Love it. I take mine all the time.
Yeah.
It's so special. Yeah. I don't think I trust anybody who doesn't like Waffle House. You'll get a hater here and there.
Yeah.
Like whoever those two people you just mentioned. Yeah. Haters.
They're phenomenal guys, but they're just wrong about Waffle
just wrong.
House.
They have a wrong opinion.
I did tell them that I was going to take them out, and I'm just going to order for them.
Yeah.
So, and I still haven't done that yet.
Sometimes they need a spiritual guide along the way.
Exactly.
For sure. Okay, where did the name Blue Door come from?
So we were looking for name ideas and didn't want to do anything that was JJ's Barbecue or, whatever.
Yeah.
We wanted a name that, okay, maybe one day we franchise around the world and it could just be a standard name. We wouldn't have to change it, or whatever. And I was working on another restaurant concept before Blue Door that was called the Green Bugle that was going to be like an English style pub.
Love it.
Really, really good food and nice, homey pub atmosphere. And I had this big, 5 or 6 foot long bugle, and we were going to paint it green. That was going to be above the bar and everything. So eventually someone sent, this is how long ago this was. We used to all send email, those email chains to each other.
You have to send this to 5 other people or you're going to have bad luck for 10 years.
This one wasn't necessarily like that, but it was this is something that now you would just share on Facebook or Instagram. But back then you would share it on, via email. But it was the top 10 viewer submitted photos to National Geographic of whatever year, it was. And I was just looking, this is something somebody sent me, and I was looking through it, and then this picture came up that was a seaside town, a hillside town, maybe in South America or the Mediterranean. I don't really remember, but it was all these very colorful homes and whatever. And then right in the middle, there was one of the homes had a bright blue door. And it just stood out from all, and it was a very colorful, picture, but nobody else had that color blue. So it stood out, and that just clicked immediately. And I was like, Blue Door, we can, we're the bluegrass state, Kentucky bluegrass music.
Gotcha.
We can paint the door blue, and that'll be it. So that was just immediate. It kind of happened like that. And
was that color blue like a Kentucky blue in the photo, or was it more of a?
It was close, yeah. It was maybe a little more tropical blue.
Yeah.
And since I had that green bugle, kind of the color and then the item, was kind of I guess in my head already. So as soon as I saw that, I thought Blue Door, and so that's how we came up with the name.
I love it.
Yeah.
So did you paint the door blue at the old location? And is the new? This is stupid of me. Is the new location blue? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I think I'm always so hungry and focused on what I'm about to eat. I don't even see.
Yeah, the old spot, we just painted the door blue, and we actually had plans on having blue doors be a recurring theme.
Okay.
But we went to the store and we got 2 samples of paint, those little tiny sample cans, and we painted the door, and it was we were just going to paint little swatches so we could see what color we liked the best. And I was just this color's fine with me. Painted the whole door. That was the end of that sample can. And I thought, we don't need to overdo these doors. We just have one blue. It's not Blue Doors Smokehouse. It's
just
Blue
one door. Yeah.
So this is the Blue Door. That's it.
The Blue Door.
So now we have 2 blue doors. We have one on the main entrance and one on a side entrance. It's for employees that accesses the smokehouse. But we're just not going to go overboard with the doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah. Keep it subtle.
Yeah.
There's some people in town that think that it was a political statement. that because you're blue and that there's another barbecue space that has like red in their name, that it's like this like back and forth with the and I'm like, I don't think that's the case whatsoever. But
Not
like
at
everybody's
all.
always going to read into everything, right?
Well, matter of fact, years ago, the owner of Red State called me. We're friendly, and you know, we're all kind of in this together in the restaurant industry.
Totally.
I couldn't care less about competition. I actually enjoy it and welcome it because I would like to be able to say, I want people, you know, people talk about barbecue. They talk about Kansas City, you know, Carolina barbecue, you know, Austin, Texas, that kind of stuff. It would be great if people were like Lexington, Kentucky, one of the best barbecue spots in the world.
Yeah.
But anyway, so him and I, we had both been approached by some organization to do a political thing. And they said,
like
well,
lean into it?
Yeah, and they said, well, you're blue and he's red, so what if we did like a barbecue cook-off kind of thing and people voted and it kind of like mimicked like the election or whatever was the, you know, the reason for the event. And I said, no, thank you. And then so the owner of Red State called and he said, hey, did they call you? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I told him no. And I said, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You know, and what's funny is that, you know, a lot of local businesses and, you know, small businesses, they bring their personal stuff, you know, their personal beliefs and their politics into their business. And that's totally cool. That's 100%, you know, their prerogative to do. Me personally, I would never do that.
Yeah.
Just because like we're just eating lunch together, you
Right.
know? And during the time, like, I don't want to speak for the guy, but the owner of Red State, he named that and he said in some older interviews because red states were known to have the best barbecue. And at a certain time in our, you know, political history, we weren't so like divided. And so it was kind of like you could say, you know, I like I said, I don't want to speak for him, but I think he might be more blue than red.
Sure.
But he just, it was okay for him to just say like Red State. And of course, some people are going to say, I don't like it because of that or whatever. But I think it was just a statement of provenance, like red states are known to have great barbecue. For Blue Door, it had nothing to do with politics
it was from a picture.
whatsoever. Like I didn't even think about that. And so, but I don't like to bring any personal beliefs or anything into my workspace. Because we're just people eating lunch.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can sit there and have lunch and not have to have some kind of political disagreement at all
Totally.
times. You know, we're kind of inundated with that, with the news and social media. And, you know, I had a friend that worked with me at Boone Tavern. I was the chef at Boone Tavern in Berea for a long time. And she went to work in D.C. and she does a lot of marketing and stuff. And when I was going to open, she contacted me and said, I'd love to help you with marketing and this, that, and the other. And I said, okay, sure. Yeah. I don't know much about that stuff. So I was ready to take her advice. And she said, well, who's your target audience? And I said, I don't know, everybody that lives in Lexington.
Yeah.
And she was like, nope, no business has everybody as their target audience. And I'm like, well, I'm going to break the mold on that because, you know, we're going to be inexpensive, you know, in comparison to some other places. You know, it's going to be a quick lunch service and
Great
that kind
product,
of thing. And,
yeah.
You know, and so she might be right. It may not be the target of everybody.
I don't know. It's pretty popular.
But
I
when
mean,
when you're having lunch and you look around and you see construction guys with their dirty boots on, and then, you know, we see, oh, hey, this guy is CEO of, you know, G&J Pepsi or, you know, whatever. I mean, you just see this big demographic of people. And maybe that one guy, he doesn't have much money that comes in, but this is like his weekly treat, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe these other guys, they could spend thousands a day on going out if they wanted to, but they can also just sit next to each other at Blue Door and enjoy the same food. It's just food, and that's all we want to do is just serve good quality food to people and have them enjoy it.
I love that. That's great. So speaking of all the different, you'd said something earlier that really interested me. I'd forgotten, of course, there's so many different styles to barbecue. Mm-hmm. So there's, you said Carolina, Kansas City, of course, Texas, and I'm from Oklahoma and Texas. So like, I know that there's some different, would you consider what you do to be in the vein of some of those? Are you breaking the mold with that? Like, what is Lexington barbecue and what are you doing with it?
Well, we don't have Lexington, like, doesn't have a barbecue identity necessarily. So we really kind of have pulled just from different areas, and, being culinary background, just want it to taste good, really.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, like, our brisket is definitely Texas style, which really just means that it's a whole brisket, so it's not cut into the two muscle groups. It's the whole thing. It's just seasoned with salt and pepper and smoked with oak wood, and that's really kind of what makes it Texas barbecue. But the other meats are just kind of what I wanted to do, just the flavor that I wanted. And then we have a few different sauces if you want to add that, and just kind of keep it simple. But most people will say that we're Texas style. And one of the reasons that people say that is because, like I said, the previous tenant of our old location was a barbecue restaurant, and he had some graphics up on the window, and we left them up there just because it had the phone number and stuff. And we took anything down with their logo, but we kept a couple things up. And one of them said Texas barbecue. And so I think that's one of the reasons. And really the only reason we did that is because we just couldn't afford to put all these new window graphics up at that time.
That's amazing.
And over time, we just said, I don't know, we'll just leave it there.
Yeah,
it doesn't say anybody
it.
else's business on it. And it was like protected from the sun.
Yeah.
And so that's, so we have never really claimed to be Texas barbecue. I mean, definitely, like, Austin, Texas makes the best brisket, ever. And so we just wanted to do what they do, which is salt, pepper, oak smoke, and that's really keep it as simple as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most popular, like, when you're typical person coming in, is there one thing that's more popular than another that people get?
Yeah, brisket's the most popular.
Brisket's the most popular,
yeah.
Hands down, like overwhelmingly?
Yeah, hands down. So by sales, brisket, I just looked at this yesterday, brisket pound is our number one selling item. Brisket plate is the number 2 selling item. 2 meat combo is number 3 selling item, and that almost always has brisket on it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What about the second meat?
Pulled pork.
Pulled pork.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you do great sausage too.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
So where does all the meat come from?
It just comes from a commodity supplier, U.S. Foods. We'd love to use like a higher end product, but I think that's one of the reasons why we can have our prices a little bit lower. We do get a little bit different product from U.S. Because we do go through so much meat. They have to make sure they have that available for us.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a pretty standard product, just the same thing you could buy at the grocery store, or at Costco or whatever. And it's just kind of how you treat it after that. People ask us oftentimes about like local, could you use local meat? And really can't. I mean, cost-wise, that's prohibitive. So you'd be paying, $25 brisket sandwich. Versus $7 or $8.
Why? I mean, you'd think you're cutting out a middleman of some sort.
Well, it's just it's expensive to raise animals.
I see.
So that smaller scale, of a local farm, it costs them more money. In turn, it costs them more money to do the butchering and slaughtering and packing and storing. And one of the problems with the local, sourcing local brisket is consistency of like size and consistency of product. The biggest issue is that we go through, sometimes I don't know, 70, 100 briskets a week or whatever. I mean, more than that oftentimes. That means like 50 cows have to give their lives because there's 2 briskets per cow. So if we tell this local farmer, like, we would love to buy your brisket, but you have to slaughter at least 50 cows a week just for us, and we're not buying any of the other products that come off that cow. So we don't need the steaks, we don't need the ground beef, we don't need the roast.
Oh,
things like that.
Essentially, it might be wasteful.
Yeah, well,
or just complicated.
Well, that would just mean that they would just have every week they would have 700 pounds of ground beef to get rid of.
Yeah.
And so it's just that local food system isn't set up
See,
to do that.
I don't think a lot of people know that. I
Yeah.
don't think that is like a part of the normal person's like understanding of food in general, like the local to local business thing. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a dream of mine to be able to buy enough,
Blue Door Farm.
Yeah, that'd be great. But then I would by the end of the month, I'd have 20,000 pounds of beef to sell to someone else. So yeah, it would be a big goal of ours to be able to use all local, but it's just, just hasn't materialized over the years.
Yeah. So what is your typical day like? Like, how early do you have to get to Blue Door to get everything going for like because it's only lunch, right? So you have this huge lunch rush.
Yeah, Monday through Thursday is lunch. Friday and Saturday we're open till 8 or whenever we sell out.
Yeah.
Some weekends we go the whole until 8 o'clock with all of our items. Some weekends they can be sold out at like 3 or 4 o'clock, just depends. And we smoke a lot of meat. So there's been some chatter that we're like artificially, not making that much product so that we kind of create this artificial scarcity.
This like buzz and like, yeah.
100% not true. I'm first and foremost a businessman. I have to have a certain amount of income to pay my employees and my rent and all these different things. And, I would never create that artificial scarcity. I mean, that's just kind of, I think there are places that do that, other businesses that do that. I collect records and, a lot of bands will put out, like, we have this super exclusive, only made 100 of these records. And, you could have made 500 of them or 10,000.
You chose to.
You chose to make 100. So there's a lot of hype around this. That's not what I do. We smoke a ton of meat. And what it is, like you said, when do you get started? We get started about 7 p.m. the day before. And so smoke overnight.
And you're smoking through the night?
Yeah, so it's coming off at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then that way it's fresh every day. So lunch starts at 11. And if we have orders to do, which we do almost every day of our existence, someone's called, I want to do an office lunch, I want to do this or whatever. We had 3 or 4 today. We need that meat done before so we can start cutting orders and stuff at 9:30 or 10 o'clock or whatever, so they can come pick it up at 11. It goes overnight. Crew comes in about 8 in the morning, and it's just hustle time until we open at 11. And when we open at 11, there are days where it could be a slow start, and there are days where there's 15, 20 people outside.
Yeah.
And then that just doesn't stop until 1:30 or 2 o'clock. And then after that, it's a little bit of a trickle.
Is there any rhyme or reason to why some days are slower than others, or?
Absolutely not.
So you never know?
No, you never know. The local visitor and convention bureau, I feel bad. I don't know actually what they call themselves, but that type of organization here in town, they do send out like a monthly or bi-monthly email that says like, here's what's going on in town. We've got the high school cheer competition.
Yeah. Big Rupp Arena.
Yeah, it's pulling
things.
in 10,000 people. We've got this golf tournament. It's pulling in 3,500 people. So there are times when I do look at that and I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week should be a little bit extra. Weather's going to be nice. School's out. You can try to forecast as well as you want. There'll be a random Monday where we will just get crushed,
slammed,
and sell out of all this food that would normally on a Monday last us all day.
Yeah,
be done by 1:30, and then there are days that for sure that you are going to be crushed. 4th of July was one of them for us recently.
That has to be your biggest holiday. Everybody wants barbecue on 4th of July.
That's definitely a big day. The biggest individual days will be UK football game days.
Okay, of course.
When the games are later in the evening. So if you have a 12:30 game, there's not enough time to pick food up at 11 and to get to the stadium to tailgate. But if you have a 7 p.m. game, there's plenty of time to pick up. So then those days where you have, some people call them like the Lexington, exacta or whatever, like Keeneland in the afternoon, in the morning or in the afternoon, and then a football game at night. A day like that, we're going to sell, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of meat. It's going to go fast. We're going to, get our butts kicked. And but that's how we like it, though. We like to be busy and keep moving. It's those days where you're just kind of like, 2 people here, 5 people come in, a few pounds here, a few pounds there. Those days, they stretch out. They can be long days. But we like those busy days where we just, move and just sell meat.
Do you ever get tired of the grind?
This just got brought up the other day. There's always going to be like a level of burnout, in a restaurant.
No pun intended.
Well, maybe a little bit. But there is, we are a very repetitive business. We do the same thing. We do little fun features here and there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, extra work for us. Our day is like pretty regimented. Everybody knows exactly what to do. We don't have a lot of items on the menu, but we make all of them in bulk. So like it can get to be a grind at Blue Door. So we try to break it up with the features here and there. Me personally, I don't really experience that too much. I enjoy, if I was at the old place still, I would, because I was getting very, there was a lot of anxiety about how small the space was, and it was like hard to keep clean and different things like that. And the building was kind of starting to fall apart and a lot of repairs happening and things. New spot is open and airy and inviting, and it's a really fun environment, really good place to work.
So that was the reason for the move. You needed a bigger space.
We just need a bigger space, We needed a bigger and newer space where we could have more refrigeration and more storage and everything. But yeah, there's definitely like a little bit of burnout when you're doing something that repetitive, but I just always, I just enjoy walking through the door. And it's almost like a game sometimes, like how much meat can we sell this week, and we'll surprise ourselves, and you'll think you're not going to have that busy of a weekend. And then all of a sudden, Wednesday, Thursday comes around and those phone calls start coming in. It's like, oh, wow, now with an extra, 100 pounds of pork to do this weekend or whatever. So it's just, you got to kind of find those little sparks of entertainment, and something that might be kind of boring and doldrum.
Yeah. So that's the best way to do an order with you guys is call. So not online. You're not doing.
We do online for stuff like sandwiches and plates.
Yeah.
So yeah, you hop online, bluedoorsmokehouse.com, follow the link to order online, and you can download an app too, like through Square. Makes it a little bit easier if you're going to do it regularly. And then that's just for like individual stuff, sandwiches and plates, and but if you want to order bulk, like for a party, just give us a shout.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot.
We don't have anything like people say, do you have any packages? We don't really. We just tailor everybody's menu to what they need. So you got 25 people, we'll tell you how much meat and how many sides and that kind of thing you need. And not everybody needs everything or wants everything. So sometimes I feel like you see packages, not all the time, but sometimes they can be like a little bit of wasteful. Not everybody needs disposable plasticware and plates, and so we don't include, when you want brisket, you can just get the brisket and the sauce.
Yeah.
You want potato salad, just that. You want all of it, we'll put something together for you.
Yeah. Smart. A la carte.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about, you have 2 kids. Do they love barbecue? Do they eat it often? Are they sick of it?
They don't eat it a ton.
Yeah.
They do like it. They're actually coming around to it more. My young one, she's a carnivore.
Nice.
So like her and I mean, she eats as much steak as I do. I'll grill steaks at home, and I'm like, where are you putting all this? And she's like, I don't want the vegetable. I don't want the potatoes. Yeah. So she likes it. Barbecue is like, it's a flavorful thing.
Definitely.
There's a lot of depth of flavor to it. So sometimes for younger people, it's not something that they like immediately. But they're coming around to it more and more, and to where they're actually asking for it a little bit.
For you, like, bring it home?
Yeah.
Or you to make it at home for them?
No, just like they'll come in to visit.
Oh, they like to come
one
in,
of them
yeah.
does karate, does martial arts down the street, and so they'll have, she'll have a session like on Saturday morning, and then they'll come in for lunch or things like that. And but it used to be kind of hard to feed them when they came in because they didn't really like the side items. Like we have a little bit of a limited number of side items.
I love your sides though.
I think we do great sides.
I think you have great potato salad.
Sometimes people criticize that we don't have enough or they don't like them or whatever. I don't know. I sell more side items than anybody in this town probably. So people do like them. But we don't do mac and cheese, which is like super popular barbecue side. We don't do French fry. We don't do anything fried. So those are two that those are the ones the kids like the most. But
sure.
My kids, they like our beans and they like our little
beans.
Side salads with a little homemade smoked tomato ranch. So they're coming around to it.
Your kids eat salad?
They love salad, yeah.
I'm wildly impressed.
My kids are great eaters.
Yes,
They like a little bit of everything. I do consider myself lucky, but we started them early. Just trying all the different things that we try. But what has happened is that now, like when we go out as a family, like we go to sushi, and they're like, oh, I want some tuna sashimi and I want some salmon. And, so it's like they don't order the $6.99 kids meal anymore.
Yeah. So it's a moment,
Yeah. But that's all fine and good. You know, we like that they're pretty good eaters.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So what is life like for you outside of Blue Door? You said you love music. Like, as a Lexingtonian, like, what are you doing with your off time? Where do you eat if it's not, your own stuff?
Yeah, well, I don't eat my own stuff very much.
Okay.
I taste,
Sure.
any good chef tastes. And, I'll tell you when I like my stuff the best is when I'm outside of work and somebody we know has used us to cater it. And it's kind of like I'm removed. Okay, you could ask anybody that works at Blue Door and probably any barbecue restaurant. I don't smell the smoke at work. It's, I don't, when I eat the food, it doesn't taste real smoky to me because we're in that environment all day long. But when I go home and I take a shower and I put fresh clothes on, then we go to a friend's house and they're like, oh, I didn't realize that your uncle picked up Blue Door for this get together. That's when I really like it because that's when I can kind of taste it as what the consumer would taste it as.
Like fresh eyes.
Like fresh, and kind of, and sometimes I'll walk into a place and I'm like, I can smell, I'm like, Blue Door, and like, wait, what's their name? Oh, okay, yeah, they picked up 7 pounds of this and 4 pounds of this, and like, and I'll know that that's what we're going to have. That's when I like our stuff the best is when I'm having it as like a normal guest would at someone's party or something. Life outside of work for me is mostly kids stuff. Our kids are super active. They play soccer. They do gymnastics, martial arts. Summer is swim season, so they're on a swim team.
Are they on the swim team?
Yeah,
oh, Lord,
on the swim team.
That's its own thing.
So we've got our last meet this week, and then our conference tournament this weekend. So that'll be a good time. So we love that. We love live music.
You go to the Burl a lot?
Yeah.
Manchester?
Not as much as before kids, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
But, when good shows come to town, we definitely try to do what we can to get there and see some music. That's one of the things my wife and I bonded over, early in our relationship was going to see music. I love playing disc golf. Just hanging out with friends and family, and most of my family lives here. My wife's family lives in Indiana, so we don't see them as much. But one of my sisters has a pool, so we go over there, and the kids love to be in the water and just hang out. We do go out to eat quite a bit. We like simple stuff, and we like kind of international stuff. So we love Everest, like we love the Nepali and Indian food.
I haven't
over there.
been yet, but I've heard it's incredible.
It's very good.
Okay,
yeah,
all right, on my
good.
list.
And they're so nice there.
Yeah.
Super nice group of people.
So it's Nepalese food?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of crossover with Indian food, but
Sure.
there is some like specific Nepalese stuff.
I love Indian so much.
Yeah, we do too. We love Thai food.
Heck yeah.
We love Vietnamese food.
What's your favorite Thai place in Lexington?
Probably Planet Thai.
Okay.
that was my wife and I's first date was there.
Oh, well then, yeah.
So that's, got some sentimental value.
Of course.
But, real Lexingtonians will remember there was a place in Tate's Creek Center called Pad Thai that was like the best Thai food ever. And I think they wrote him a pretty good check to get him out of there when they expanded Kroger and Tate's Creek Center.
And he just didn't reopen?
I think he just took the money and maybe went back to Thailand. I'm not sure.
Terrible.
But that was the best spot. But we like Planet Thai. And we like all of it. Arca 9.
I love Arca 9.
Just, everywhere. We love Vietnamese food. We love sushi. We love like authentic Mexican. My wife and kids, they love, like your Americanized like type Tex-Mex. I don't love
Same.
that as much as they do.
Oh, I'm on their side. For sure.
That's like that would
like
be their
cheese
choice
and all
most
that.
of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time. Yeah. I mean, I like it too. One of the main things is I just eat too much when I'm there. I'm like, I can't stop eting the chips and the queso and that kind of thing. But we do a lot of I don't know what you would even really call it, just like American. Like we like Winchell's a lot. We like Suggins a lot. I said one time to somebody, I don't want to go out to eat at a restaurant if they don't have cottage cheese as a side item. And not that I would always order that, but like the kind of place that would have.
It's a good indicator.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
like it's kind of like.
For sure.
And then someone said, yeah, that's like what older people order. And I'm like, well, I guess that's how I am.
Yeah.
But we just kind of eat all over the place. And with the kids, we don't do the higher end places as much. But we just kind of keep it casual, but we do eat out a lot as a family. Like I said, we're very busy. There's days where one of us is at this practice and the other one's at this practice, and we'll meet up somewhere to eat. We love like taquerias and taco trucks and that kind of thing. So those are probably our main things, Mexican food, Thai, Vietnamese.
Love it.
Sushi. Yeah.
Raising them right.
Yeah. And like I said, they're good eaters. They like a little bit of everything.
So lucky. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For being a part. I mean, you were a really great podcast guest. I got to hand it to you.
Well, anybody that knows me well knows that I talk a lot.
Yeah. So this is no big deal
it's
for me.
just normal for me.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And thank you for being here during your lunch rush. I mean,
my pleasure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got a good group of guys that are holding it down, and when I go back, they'll probably have the music cranked up and just having a good time.
Good.
So yeah,
good. So it wasn't too bad.
No.
Okay.